This podcast is recorded on Aboriginal land. We pay our respects to elders past and present and recognise that sovereignty was never ceded. Welcome back to the Radical Online Leftist Pipeline podcast. I'm Mitch Alexander.
I'm Celeste Little.
And I'm Jordan Vandenlam.
Celeste, you're back from holiday. Congratulations on two things. Firstly, a holiday. Secondly, being totally fucking right about Jacinta Price. Just a hole in one from fucking the furthest shot you could make. You were calling Jacinta Price's defection to the Nationals, her push for leadership, the power-hungry nature of it, for months. Weeks, if not months. And then watching it all unfold as you were out of the country, I just felt like it was the most like prophet does a mic drop situation.
I gotta say, I think it was just yesterday, actually, I also saw her mention something about how Labor have undeservedly been holding Lingyari for such a long time. So watch that space.
Okay, right. So yes, I was going to ask, do you have another prediction?
Yeah. My prediction is that she will move she will move to contest in the lower house at the next election in the seat of Lingyari with the hope that she will hold the leadership position. But she's got to do that manoeuvring between now and then. So it depends on how I guess it pans out from this point, because you're right, I have been right.
Yeah. You've got a number, 100%. The thing that for me, though, is like to be Prime Minister, to be a politician in her position in general, you have to have a sort of blinkered view of reality. And the fact that she hasn't reckoned with the fact that she cost them the election in no small part with her MAGA bullshit, her Make Australia Great Again shit, and also her own party like thoroughly rejected her, and she almost assuredly cost Angus Taylor the leadership of the Liberal Party. She was going for deputy alongside Angus Taylor, and everyone in the Liberal Party just went, oh, no, fuck, we can't deal with this culture war shit. And so I'm fascinated to see what happens with her in the future. What do you reckon her chances are?
Her chances will be as good as the Labor Party makes them, I've got to admit. The reason why I say this is because, Suzanne with the two S's has been manoeuvred into the leadership position in no small part because she looks like a more moderate leader. The Liberal Party have taken stock and said, well, we need a little bit of moderation here because this culture war, MAGA, reactionary crap, that wonderful speech that I watched her give on, not Suzanne, Jacinta, on election night from the laundromat when I was sitting in Maastricht. Now, that was something.
We've got Northern Territory Senator Jacinta Price. Jacinta, Peter Dutton tonight has lost his seat. With your embrace of Donald Trump, Make Australia Great Again, are you part of the reason for that loss?
Oh, that's a big call, don't you think? I mean, you sling enough mud in an election, it sticks. And we did see a Prime Minister who absolutely misled the Australian people all the way through and was rarely called out for his conduct, and I think that's absolutely deceitful.
But Jacinta, let's just talk about this. Let's just talk about this seriously. At a time when Donald Trump was sending shockwaves around the world,
I'm talking about it seriously.
It's not a smear campaign. I just want you to address it seriously, Jacinta. At the time that Donald Trump was sending shockwaves around the world, disturbing. So if you don't think that I'm addressing this seriously, I am addressing this deadly seriously, in that if you sling enough mud, it will stick. And absolutely, Labor, certainly the media, slung enough mud in terms of this particular issue. You made it all about Donald Trump. We really couldn't care less about the way Donald Trump is governing for America. We were concerned with the way Australia's being governed under an Albanese government. But Jacinta Price, we all saw you.
The situation's not going to get any better going forward. It's not going to get any better.
Let's just talk about this. sensibly, Jacinta. We saw you wearing a Make Australia Great Again hat at a time when Donald Trump was poison to the world. We saw you give a speech in which you used a Donald Trump value statement to make Australia great again. So can I come back to the question, are you partly responsible for what the Liberal Party has suffered tonight and Peter Dutton's loss of his seat?
Let me come back to the question. That's a whole lot of mud you just slung right there, can I just say, in terms of wanting this country to be great. Donald Trump doesn't own those 4 words, right?
The whole thing about mud flinging and anyway.
Fake news, yeah.
If the Labor Party manages to steer it and keep it steered towards social issues and start to show a spine, then the Liberal are going to have to hold on to more moderate picks for the next election. If they don't do that, and if they start going reactionary right too, which we have seen before, she's in with a shot. I don't know how big a shot. I do think it's unlikely that the Liberal Party will select someone from the Northern Territory to ever lead them.
Yeah.
But you never know. You never know.
Maybe she contests the seat in Northern Territory you were mentioning before and then goes for a Sydney seat somewhere. Like that, she just keeps moving around the country.
Lingyari is the first place that she actually ran as a candidate.
Right.
So before she got into the Senate, she did run in the seat of Lingyari as the CLP candidate for the lower house. So she ran, she lost. Running again, definitely not an outside chance. And that would be the pathway for her to do it, I'd say. But who knows which way this country will go? Who knows which way the Labor Party will go? Where they drag the Overton window to next?
I feel like don't discount how badly the Labor Party can drop the ball. They fucking love failing. They love fucking up. They love doing shit that annoys everyone. And I don't know, I've talked about it ad nauseum on this podcast, and it's not exactly the time and place, but seeing what's happening with the Reform Party in the UK, seeing what happened to New Zealand, France, a bunch of these different, neoliberal democracies, when the nominally centre-left party, they're right-wing, when the nominally centre-left party cannot and does not address the material needs of people, it goes really fucking bad, really fucking quick. And at the moment, everyone is talking about the 1,000-year reign of Albo. And it's like, no, he could lose the next election fucking single-handedly. If they fail to make things better for most Australians, we will kick him out and the country will very potentially go towards a hard right pivot. So fucking fingers crossed, like you said, Celeste, they grow a modicum of a spine.
We need one vertebra. That'll do it.
Exactly. One vertebra, please.
Yeah, the alternative, though, is that the Liberals, Labor keeps doing exactly what they're doing, and the Liberals finally come out and say, instead of trying to push further to the right, finally come out and say, these are our policies that you're stealing, actually. And people eventually realise that. But they can't do that if they keep, reaching further to the right. But, if they stopped and just were like, we would have done that. That's that's us. Hey, you're doing more liberal things. You're the party that ushered in neoliberalism to this country. We were trying to do that. You just did it first. That's a strategy. They won't do that though, because they want to try to differentiate themselves. And that was Labor's strategy from the first Albo election as well. Let's try to get as much of the Liberal base by doing what they do, because the rate of Liberal votership is dying at 100,000 a year just due to age. And if we just are indistinguishable with some kind of populist policy that is explicitly neoliberal, particularly with the GP stuff. Let's subsidize private clinics more. What else did they do? Let's promise to have an inquiry on price gouging. Love that.
Which, like, the Nationals were pushing for the breaking up of the supermarkets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And if you look at their policy, like if you took the coalition while they were the coalition and split them, like half of the policies are indistinguishable. Like there should be there should have been, if the Nationals weren't there driving the Liberals to do the nuclear shit and like, or again, I can't even remember which side they're on. But if they weren't kind of the crazy ones hanging on, the coalition between the Liberal Party and the Labor Party makes a lot more sense in 2023, 2024. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
Well, the Nationals are always an interesting unit. That's another thing that I'm quite amused by. Obviously, there's the split between the coalition, the Nationals booting off. But yeah, I mean there is a certain balance that they seem to have there quite often, which is why you see so many Nationals over the course of history actually just strike out and become weirdo independents too. There's this weird mix between some of these hard right sort of policies and some very community-minded, grassrootsy sort of ideals.
Yeah, old-fashioned nationalism.
Yeah. So who knows which way it could go. If the Liberal Party, on the other hand, wants to completely shake stuff up, do a Malcolm Fraser, go down that line.
Yeah. I have a prediction. I've been making it in a few places. I'll now make it on the podcast. This is a big, like, called it from the from the 3-point line, right? I reckon, give it 20 years max, the Liberal Party will be considered the nominally centre-left and the Labor Party will be the centre-right party. Because we know about, like, you know, back in the day in America, it was the Democrats that were pro-slavery. They were the right-wing party and it shifted, blah, blah, blah. I honestly think that the Labor Party might keep trying to grab more and more of the right-wing base of the Liberal Party. So not going in for culture war stuff, but going in for all the other shit that conservatives love. And the Liberals will need some, like you said, Jordan, way to sort of differentiate themselves. And I think they will do it in a way that they're going to try and win the teal seats back. And the teals are basically, can we deal with climate change, not be weird and make money? And there is such an easy liberal, neoliberal, centre-left, nominally centre-left way you can do that, which, like, not a lot of people sort of know this. I've been talking to activists for a while, a couple of scientists as well. This is back in the day. Gladys Berejiklian's New South Wales government was the best government Australia has ever had when it comes to climate change. Because Matt Keane, the treasurer, was like, there's fucking money in it. Stop fucking around with fossil fuels. We can make so much money out of climate change.
100%,
and so I think the Liberal Party are going to will do the, like, let's break up the supermarkets. That's kind of left wing. Let's fix climate change. That's left wing. The Labor Party will be tied to the fossil fuel industry by way of workers and the shitty right wing unions. And I reckon 20 years time, there will be a switch. Now, obviously the caveat to that is both parties are firmly in the fucking right wing. Both parties are neoliberal middle managers. So it's not actually going to make a difference in our lives. But the way the media talk about it, the way they talk about themselves, I think that'll be where the switch goes.
I think that's not far off. That'd be interesting. Like in every other country, it was the Conservative Party that ushered in the neoliberalism, like Thatcher and stuff, and like actual Labor or workers' parties obviously fought against that. But here, it's Labor doing all the liberal shit. It's Labor.
It's in their DNA.
All of that. So yeah, like I think, and there's lots of things that the Liberals can do that would kind of flip that position that are liberal policies as well. It was Menzies that did all the fucking public housing and like
Menzies and Fraser have so much shit that's like these days Sky News would call them, like, you know, Antifa far left terrorists. Like, it's not.
Yeah, and like the Liberals can make a whole bunch of money from a transition to renewables. And the Liberals can, you know, if they went harder on supporting smaller businesses than they did on supporting fucking giant corporations, that would get community on side immediately. I can see it.
On that, that's a very interesting point too. With Labor as commanding as they are in this term of parliament, all the big businesses will be lubing up every orifice on both their side and the Labor side to just make sure the money keeps flowing that way. So the big dollars will be going to them this term as well.
Exactly.
With the assumption that they're going to be in power for the next, 28 years.
Yeah. They don't have to do anything. They just will. Like it's literally in Labor's national platform that actually we needed. Class collaboration is literally in the national platform. Yeah. So they'll be fine. You don't need it. You don't even need to donate. Labor are such little groveling little pigs that they'll just do it for you anyway. It'll be fine. You don't donate to them. You donate such if you look at the how much it costs to buy a politician in Australia.
Right.
Fuck, it's $10,000. Fuck me.
You can take Jed Carney down to Ballard's for a nice night and you'll get some policy.
Fuck me. You'll get a fossil fuel subsidy. That's just nuts.
Me personally.
Yeah.
I will get fossil fuel subsidies.
Exactly. They'll be fuck's sake. It's embarrassing. It's just so embarrassing. But so don't even bother. You don't even have to do it.
Shout out to Ballard's while we're here.
Yeah.
It's Ballard's. Best fucking restaurant in the country. I got their
best
cookbook
Instagram
too.
As well.
Best Instagram. Best fucking restaurant. I got their cookbook. Best piece of literature Australia's produced in 25 years. It's so fucking funny. It's so good. Celeste, you've been away. You've been on holidays. You've been doing a bunch of cool shit on holidays too.
Yeah.
And seeing cool connections with the family stuff. How was it? Especially, how was it being away from the election and the commentary and the discourse, quote unquote?
Oh my goodness. So this is the first election that I've been away. And I think I mentioned that when I dialed in from Leeuwarden. But it was really quite bizarre being away from it all. I got to admit. Yeah. And then, obviously streaming it from afar, watching how the chips fell from laundromats and all of that. That was quite bizarre. I did tip the result, not quite as extreme as it went, but I did, by the time that the election, it was a week or two out from the election, I knew Labor were winning it, and I said so. Yeah. So that wasn't so much of a shock. I think the biggest shock was just how much of a swing it ended up being towards them, and I still can't figure out why. Just from my own set of values, I can't figure out why. But I did like being elsewhere during the election, I've got to say. I liked being overseas. I liked chasing down historical sites that have to do with revolutionary ancestors of me whilst
so cool.
And people can look on my public Instagram, but I did post a photo up of my 5th great grandfather's gable stone. And the reason why that's there was that he was a democracy activist. And revolutionary. Him and his patriot mates booted out the orangist town council and demanded democratic elections. So, seeing all that and knowing too that I guess seeing yourself as part of a continuum, knowing too that the main reason why I stood for election when I did was because, as I said when we were talking to Kath, I've lived in one of the least democratic seats in the country for most of my adult life. It's just weird seeing those historical ripples ending up in a town where, I said, I had both sides of the family in Utrecht. I had both my mum's and my dad's side represented because I've got a cousin who lives over there from the dad's side too, which is just insane. But when I went to Maastricht, I said, I don't think there's any family history or family connection here. I found out later that Quinton Darchi actually was in exile down in that town. So I just kind of ended up chasing it all over the country, really. It was funny.
Really fucking cool. Just like randomly ended up as a a relative of mine was in exile here. Didn't know that until I got to this random town. But
what a nice place to be in exile.
I know, like these beautiful canals.
Yeah. Shit. Don't send me there.
No, please don't. I'd hate to be there with no responsibility. Fuck.
And then he went from there to Ghent. So it's just kind of like the dude. Yeah, when he was in exile, it was not a bad place to be in exile. But I think, oh God, what was the other thing I found? 4 generations of the family, all Freemasons. That was another thing I found. God. So that was interesting too. Sick. I just sort of,
Oh, that's cool as fuck. It genuinely like inspired me to try and dig through some more stuff. I think I've mentioned before that my granddad, I only found out in the last 12 months, my granddad, World War II veteran, found out this year he's a raging communist. Well, he died 20 years ago now. My dad just sort of came out with it. It's like, oh yeah, he came back from the war, wouldn't shut up about redistributing wealth and equality. Raging communist. He'd chew anyone's ear off about it. And he was the head of the treasury in Ipswich or some council. And like apparently they booted him after a couple of years because he kept trying to insert China into everything, doing international deals with China, buying Chinese stuff.
So what did he do? What was his trade? Because he sounds like he was like MUA Maoist kind of vibes.
I don't know. I need to talk to my dad about that. All I know was, World War II veteran, and then came back and wouldn't shut up about communism.
Yeah, that's not an uncommon...
Chamber of Commerce was what he was. So I should look up to see what his union is. Because I mean, like my dad was also part of the Wharfies Union and was there part of the whole thing. So there could be a lineage there. Yeah.
They're like pretty radicalized, returned servicemen, big on joining the union, and then a lot of them went to the Wharfies and the builders, labourers and whatever. And big on China, particularly the Maoists. And that's where that's where they live.
Yeah, sick. No, I mean, it just feels cool to be sort of part of something like that.
Yeah,
my dad, though, being a Vietnam veteran, hates communists and doesn't like whenever I talk about communism. But he's in his 70s now. I'm like, look, you can have your quirks.
It's from a different time.
I guess the one thing that I do appreciate, my family is, regardless, and I think it's pretty well known that we have fallen all over all sides of the political spectrum, but there's no one who's really apathetic in my family, and that I like. They've got opinions on how things should be, and I really admire that about all of them, even if I fundamentally think some of them are completely wrong. But one other little thing that I did do while I was there, I didn't get to go to the Peace Palace because I accidentally walked straight into the Red Line protest that was happening in The Hague. So,
amazing.
So that was cool.
Sick.
I got to join in that for a bit, and I was even dressed for it because I took my red coat over there. Sick. So I didn't even do it on purpose. But I did go and visit the International Criminal Court, and I didn't get much in the way of souvenirs. I'm not really that person. I came back with 7 bags of lollies and 2 jars of mustard, and that was it.
Nice.
But I did get the sheet of current cases that the ICC has, which obviously has Benjamin Netanyahu listed as at large on this particular sheet of paper. So that was something for my records. Yeah.
That's something that I've been thinking quite a bit about the last like 2 months, given that we were talking a little bit about this off mic, but this apparent change in the rhetoric that's now happening about Gaza. And now like we're forced to endure these fucking media stories about how Albo's changed his tone on Israel and he's taking a much stronger stance. And Penny Wong has been unequivocal in her talks now. And I can't get over the fact that fundamentally nothing's fucking changed. And I even think that rhetorically not much has changed, because while it is true that Albo has been much more mealy-mouthed the last 2 years than he is right now, I remember when he was saying his mealy-mouthed shit and Penny Wong was saying their mealy-mouthed shit, sort of going, we want to see what happens, but we don't want bad stuff to happen. And I had to listen to the fucking media class back then tell me that Penny Wong was taking a hard stance on Israel and that Albo was taking a hard stand on Israel. So the only thing that's changed are the sentences in Albo's speech. Even the fucking media are repeating this shit over and over and over and over while our politicians do fucking nothing. They have done nothing. They've expelled no ambassadors. They've cut no trade ties. They've done nothing real about this. And I feel like I'm going fucking insane. I'm maddeningly angry about this fucking situation. And we're seeing the consequences of that at the moment. Like when fucking 2 people at an embassy were fucking shot. Because, like you said, Celeste, the fucking leader of Israel is a wanted international criminal. And basically every leader of the Western world has gone, we're not going to do anything about it though. I was like, okay, if the criminal court, if you're not going to enforce findings from the fucking criminal court, then I'm already at war with you. If half of my family have been killed by that guy and you are now in collaboration with him, then I've got no recourse except for breaking the fucking law and doing something really extreme. It's fucking insane to deal with this shit. And I keep coming back to that thing, that quote of, they will tell you they've always been against this.
Yes. Yeah.
We are going to be gaslit something fucking fierce in the next 6 months as they come out and they go, the footage of starving people is really bad. I don't actually care about starving people, but fuck, I can't pretend anymore. Yeah. And they're going to say that they were always fucking against this shit. And it's disgusting.
Exactly. I think like there's similarities to be drawn with the media and, the politicians and stuff from the Holocaust. Yeah. Like Israel is pretty much done now, and now we need to do damage control and say that actually we weren't on the side of, and they're not even doing that. They're not even doing that yet. Like that'll come. Like that'll come in a couple of months probably, and that's fucking horrific to think about. But like, it is no longer defensible to defend the killing of 100 people a day, 100 fucking civilians, children. Like it's no longer defensible to defend that. It's no longer defensible to defend mass starvation, even though they never really defended that. They were always like, collective punishment isn't that great. We won't like condemn the collective punishment through any material measures or anything. But like, we don't think starvation is good. That's nice. Now you can be like, we think starvation is actually really bad and they should stop that. Excellent. Strong. Fantastic. Beautiful. Like that would have been nice like a year ago.
Yeah.
But like, we're not doing anything. But I think what we're doing is damage control.
Well, it's so sorry. I know that that it's us doing the visual thing at the moment, but I've got my eyes glancing over because it's very, very little at a very late time, and Australia has not even agreed to potentially sanction all of these other nations. So from what I can see here, there's some sanctions going on from the UK, suspending trade talks and recalling the ambassador. So some action there, some threat of action from a lot of EU countries and Canada. And then there's Australia not committing to that, but using strongly worded letters.
Yeah. And
strongly worded letters. And that's
while doing that, being like, we're not a major player. Like, bro, you weren't a major player in fucking South Africa's apartheid either, but you still did shit. Like, come on, you were much less of a major player in South Africa's apartheid. You're sending weapons to these cunts. What do you mean?
Not weapons at all. Just parts that might go into weapons. Now, those
actually,
parts
one of them is literally a weapon. There's one of them is literally just a weapon. But
those
weapons,
big like sci-fi guns.
Yeah, and parts thereof. That's the definition of weapons in an international law.
So just to be clear, one thing that our fucking government loves doing is trying to do the technical "I'm not touching you, I'm touching your shirt" version of things. So they've been saying, we don't send weapons to Israel. Before it was revealed that they were sending literal full fucking weapons, the Australian companies doing it. We had integral parts manufactured in Australia that can only go into fighter planes. They can't be used for anything else.
The whole world's fighter planes as well, not like the entire fleet of F-35s.
We are such major players in aerial combat across the fucking world because of that. And there's parallels to the fact that we also don't count in Australia's emissions the coal we send overseas.
Yeah,
as if China might eat it instead.
Yeah.
But we know what they're fucking using it for. We know what these parts are going for. And I don't know. I genuinely don't know how someone like Albo or Penny Wong or anyone in the Labor Party at that level can live with themselves. I understand how they can live with themselves in more abstract ways when they're bastards on small things. But this fucking genocide, they know that they're responsible for it. They saw the footage before the mass starvation took place. And they were just like, nah, my career is worth more than this.
Exactly.
And now, like, the damage control that you said, Jordan, it's not even a principled stance because they're not doing anything for it. They're still concerned about their fucking career and the Israel lobby and like how they will be perceived in the media. Like, what is wrong with these fucking cretins? It's fucked.
My favorite bit from it all, I think, was the ACTU statement. It's like their first one on it. And they were like, we continue to call for blah, 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 blah. It's like, bro, this is the first time you fucking said anything. What do you mean? Like, shut the fuck up. Also, what are you going to do about it? Like, you're acknowledging this is horrific. There are atrocities, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, we'll make a nice statement and we'll lie about how many times we've made the statement, actually. That's all. Like, we are, the peak body for unions in Australia. Last time something like this happened, it was in South Africa and we actually did a fuckload. This time, we'll make a nice statement and just lie to you in it. Like, fuck off.
One thing I did wonder, and this is to the side of that, I guess, but it's got me thinking, if union members across the country collectivise, shut down supply lines, because clearly the government is not going to shut down supply lines. They're not going to put in place the sanctions that are needed to starve the Israeli war effort here. So it's got to come from below and it's got to come from the workers. So if enough workers organised, shut down those supply lines tomorrow and that was where it was. What would the Labor Party do next? Would they actually get in and support the workers as the party of the workers, or would they start to sanction the people who are shutting down the supply lines?
Or would they put those unions into administration?
It's just kind of like, you see the Labor Party with their work choices light, with their little tiny attacks, or bigger ones like the BLM and all of that sort of stuff over the course now of 40 years.
The first fucking party to send in the army to break a strike, to violently break a strike.
I do wonder where they'd be at if workers took that action, because I do think that's a viable way of action. If our government's not going to do it, the people can. But then what happens? Yeah.
I think just based off what we heard in the election campaign and a bit before it, I think they would fall onto, we hold as sacred the right to protest, but the protest needs to be safe and legal. And what these unions are doing isn't legal, so we can't support that. And I think they would send out some more right-wing talking heads to do the whole importing of problems. You know how both sides were talking about, they're causing problems in this country and they're importing a problem from overseas, as if we're not all as just globally condemned ourselves by allowing a Holocaust to happen. We are all fucking complicit in this. There's blood on all of our hands for fucking allowing this. But they're just going, it's not taking place here. So Australians don't need to be, violent or illegal here because of it. And I reckon they would do that. And another part of my brain is saying, nah, Mitch, that's way too hopeful.
I reckon, like, we've got recent examples of this. Like, if Labor refuses to do something and then, like, the workers themselves actually require something to be done. The most recent example I can think of is the silicosis stuff, the stone bench tops and shit like that. Like CFMU, Queensland Northern Territory youth crew workers picketed a Bunnings that was selling things with silicosis, and then eventually, CFMU, ETU banned stone bench tops from their sites and stuff like that. And then about 6 months to a year later, the Labor Party claimed it as a victory for the Labor Party. Look what the Labor Party has done. I reckon they would have been like, we've been against this whole time. We've been condemning blah, 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 blah. We finally shut it down. We shut down all your fucking planes that you're bombing all these kids with. We've been working hard behind the scenes the whole time. I think that's exactly what they do. I
could see that. But again, I mean, maybe not, especially if they're more concerned about going to the right wing at the moment. Like, would they just cut ties with the union and be like, fuck yous, we don't need you anymore. We have outlived the usefulness. The major right-wing unions like the SDA and whatnot are just like, look, we don't care about workers either. We are just here as a stepping stone to the Labor Party as well. So fuck it. We'll also support you in hurting workers, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I mean, what they did though with those stonework bench tops was pretty fucking cool. I do remember the unions being like, "We're not fucking touching them," and governments just having to go like,
unloading them, we're not letting them in. Yeah,
and then the governments just had to go, "Fuck, we got to change it." Our hands are tied. We have to fucking change the laws on this.
You can't do anything.
Yeah. Which was, again, didn't get much traction in the media because you can't have workers know that they can just do shit and governments will follow suit.
But you can parrot when the Labor Party says that it was them that did it. You can absolutely, that's fine.
Yeah. No, totally. But yeah, no, I just, the main thing I want people to take away from this is that watch what politicians do, not what they say. And fuck most of the media class for their crocodile tears right now. The sanctimonious shit I saw from Walid Ali on the project being like, you can't do this. This is horrible now. As if I've not been on my phone for 2 years and seen fucking charred bodies and blown apart babies. It's been fucked for 2 years, cunt. Don't try now to go, now the conversation has turned. Cunt, you set the conversation. You're the fucking media. Yeah. The ABC, the Project, the Guardian, all the rest of them, they love abdicating their responsibility and just talking about what people are talking about as if their headlines don't set fucking agendas. Shut the fuck up. Of course they do. You've been silencing people on Palestine for fucking 2 years now. You don't get to come back in here and say, actually, I'm a moral and good person. You've proven you're not. Fuck off into the country. Get a trade. Be socially useful in obscurity for the rest of your fucking life. I don't want to see your face on my fucking phone again. Cunt.
Agreed. I think the thing that like summarized it in like a word for me, or like a sentence for me, was when like Darnie, a reporter from Crikey, like quote tweeted a Guardian article. It's like last week, and he's like, "Oh my god, the Guardian just said it was a genocide. Guardian just called it a genocide." Yeah, it's like fuck, Jesus Christ, you're right.
Yeah, but now it is.
Now.
This is also the pernicious thing though that I hate is that. I think if anyone is listening to this podcast, you're already lost in the sauce. You're already totally across everything that's happening. But it's always worth remembering that, like, most people didn't know who Adam Bandt was last election, right? Like, according to polling, the majority of people polled didn't know who he was, let alone they didn't know Max Chandler-Mather, barely knew who Peter Dutton or Anthony Albanese was. So many people get their information about Gaza from just snippets from the mainstream news, and they know this shit. And it just, it breaks my fucking heart to know that so many people out there have this skewed view of what's going on. And that means that our politicians and our media class over the last 2 years have managed to write their version of history for so many people. And you see it all the time in the statements that people bring out. They are right now trying to write history and show that they were always against it, in the same way that back when this whole thing started, they were making sure that no talk about Palestinian atrocities was ever in any of their media statements. There was no equivocation. And it's just like, this is how we are watching revisionist history get written in real time. And that's fucking tragic. So this is why it's important to not stop fucking talking about it. This is why it's important that Kneecap do it on stages, because heaps of people in that audience don't really know what's going on. They're not involved. They're not sickos for news and politics like all of our handsome listeners are. Like, there are so many people out there that just do not have the right idea of this because of this fucking influence from our politicians and media that they just sort of pick up in fits and starts. So keep talking about it. We haven't really properly talked about the socialists, the federal socialists, have we?
No, we haven't.
So for those of you listening who don't know, so Victorian socialists have gone Australia-wide. It's now just the socialists federally, and every state and territory has their own, like WA socialist, New South Wales socialist, Vic socialist, blah, blah, blah. Can you tell me, like, in the background, how long has that idea been sort of percolating? When did it sort of pick up steam? And then how is the rollout and how has the sort of initial launch gone?
Yeah. Before I get into that, I just want to say I could sense you working really hard to not say the word national then. I feel like you did so well.
It's so fucked. I've been doing that so much to start with.
Yeah.
First it was a funny, like I fucked up a couple times just talking to like my partner privately.
Yeah.
Then it became an ironic joke. And like all ironic jokes, it just starts to become normal. So I've had to pull myself back. But yeah, so the National Socialists have rolled out now across Australia. How has that been? Mein Führer Purple Fingers.
Like, honestly, apart from, like, because we've been thinking about this for a long time, which was your question.
Yeah.
And obviously that's the first joke that we made. Like, oh, we got to be careful about the name. So, like, that's a year ago. And now people are like, oh, National Socialist. It's like, fuck me. Like, for me, like, I get that it's funny to you because it was funny to me a year ago. But this is now a year on.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well done. Like, classic. You're not the first one to do it. So, yeah, no, we've been thinking about it for a while. There's been a lot of pressure, particularly on the executive from the rank and file to be like, can we do this in other states? And then, like, literally over the election, every single video I posted was like, fuck, I wish there was a Victorian socialist in whatever.
Yeah.
I wish there was WA Victorian socialists.
Yeah. And then, like, literally some people were like, keep the name. Keep the name. And then just like start in New South Wales, which is quite funny.
Do you remember the fucking, the caravan of hippies, the big car cavalcade that traveled all the way up the coast to go protest the Adani mine? And it was a whole bunch of like inner city Melbourneite greenies going to like rural Queensland. Yes. And fucking, I can imagine the Victorian socialists getting in like Townsville and Cairns.
Just incredible. Like, yeah. So yeah, no, that wasn't we didn't do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been fucking great. Like, we've already got enough registrations in South Australia to register a party.
Fuck, sick.
Like 20 off in Tassie. Like,
hell yeah.
It's going heaps well.
That's insane, because I would have thought Tassie and South Australia would be like the last holdouts. Like,
yes, same.
Like they would be difficult.
Yeah. Tassie only need like 100. So like, you know, 70 or 80 or whatever we're at the moment isn't exactly groundbreaking. But still, you know,
it's fucking sick.
Yeah, it's fucking like 200 in Northern Territory. Like, that's
fuck yeah.
That's like no, that's not. That's the requirement. We are nowhere near 200.
Okay,
but that, like, it's one of the hardest places to get registered, which is why there are only 3 parties that contest elections in the Northern Territory. But yeah, it is going gangbusters, and it's really cool. And I'll be traveling around, doing little talks. Because people are angry. People want to do something about it. And, you know, people are starting to recognize that class exists, and one class is exploited, and that sucks because that's most of us. And that we can do something about it. So, yeah.
I think it's a bit overdue, actually, because, you know, almost every other country that I can think of that holds democratic elections got some sort of socialist or communist party in it that will run every single time. So I'm looking forward to I am mentally throwing myself back in my holiday mode, though, when I went to Cologne and I went to ELD. ELDE house, the old Gestapo headquarter house.
Oh, yeah.
And they had, all this National Socialist snigger stuff has gotten me thinking about how the Nazis managed to build their way up, because the left and the right, or the far left, the centre right, they were all blaming each other for them. The right was saying, well, they're communists, so they must be your lot. They're socialists. So it's got me. Sorry, I'm mentally transporting back to an old Gestapo headquartered jail thingy, torture house. But yeah, I'd say it's overdue. I think that, as I keep saying, we need more pressure from the left in this country, and for too long the Labor Party has been the left. It's good to see the Greens apply some pressure, but I like the idea of left options here.
Yeah,
I like the idea of people thinking they've got some choice on the left, and
some room on the left. Like, look at every single fucking ballot is like, you've got the Greens being the furthest left you can go, and then just this diaspora of fucking far right parties.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just know that I live in one of the freak seats of this country, because it's the opposite, and it's one of the very few in this country that is, because when everyone else is putting their, look at how I voted, fuck the private ballot sort of thing, it is. It's just like one or two moderately left parties, and then all of the right-wing nuts. So let's have more pressure on the left, and let's see where it all leads. I'm excited to see how the socialists across Australia,
the federal socialists.
And also another thing with the name, before we move on, like, fucking don't want to put Australia in the name as well, because fuck that. Also, apparently, there's this whole thing that happened with the Labor Party, because the Labor Party is federally named the Australian Labor Party, and there was a massive fight about that. It's like, actually, that's fucking nationalist to chuck in the name and whatever.
Yeah.
Like in the UK, it's just called Labor. Labor Party.
They were fighting that at the same time they were supporting the
Doing
white Australia.
Yeah, literally.
Because they're obsessed with aesthetics. They don't give a shit. They don't have principled stances. They never fucking have. They just cared about the aesthetics.
Yeah. Ironically, I think it was like the more racist ones that were against the Australia in the name. So I don't know, figure that out, guys. Work yourselves out. That's also something that
I feel like, the left in this country deserve a couple more fringe parties as a treat. I always think about reading out the parties that were on Max Chandler Mather's ballot. And like you said, Jordan, Greens, then you've got Labor, then fucking Liberal, Clive Palmer, One Nation, Liberal Democrats, Christian weirdos, Christian fundamentalists, Libertarians. It's like, fucking, why? Why have we not had this yet? So this is interesting. This leads us to an email we got a little while ago from listener Luke. It's a fairly long email, so I'm not going to read all of it. Thank you for your lovely email, Luke. We turned him into a pinko commie. Just kidding, he always was. But the main thrust of his email, which I thought was really interesting because it came through, I think, before the announcement, was Luke wrote, "We need a socialist-leaning movement based in the rural and regional areas that doesn't share an image with metropolitan-based socialist movements. An organization of rough-speaking, quote, yobbos who are capable of speaking to the really disenfranchised groups of people in the valley, be it Yarra Valley, Tangel Valley, Latrobe Valley, and any other valley that I haven't had much experience in." Saying, I have to say I'm stoked with the spread of the socialist movement in Victoria, helped in great part to public figures like Pingers, Jasmine and Kath, amongst many others who aren't as publicly recognisable. Keep the momentum going, blah, blah, blah. But find your more bogan members, himself being an example. And I remember saying that ages and ages ago about the Greens. Like, you need to find people in the Greens who are of those communities, who the people in those communities don't think of as wankers, right? So I know you were talking a lot, Pingers, about like you were going out to like, you know, Ballarat and Bendigo and seeing really keen people for Socialists out there. So, I mean, talk to it for sure. But I feel like this, like Socialists in every state are really well positioned now to do that, to find people where they are from the communities to really champion a bottom up politics in this country.
Yeah. And like, so agreed. And that's, you know, there are a lot of our members around the Brunswick area, but that is not where we do the best, electorally, and that's it's just a measure. Like it's not like electoralism, fuck it, whatever. But like electoralism is a really good measure of like a scientific measure, even if you will, of things. And so like we did a meeting in Ballarat. And then a couple months later, there's a VS branch in Ballarat. We can't officially call it a branch because of the Constitution and blah, 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 blah. But like there's a VS branch in Ballarat organising and doing shit there. We went to Bendigo. Same thing. There was already one there because we had a councillor there who got elected. And, you know, people were coming in to Brunswick where the office is and going back out on their own to suburbs that I do not even remember the names of.
Fuck yeah.
All over Victoria. And like, yes, that's exactly what we need to do. That's, you know, where the fucking working class live. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you two remember old mate Ricky Muir?
Yes. I want him on the podcast.
Actually, that'd be kind of cool.
I want to see what happened to him,
because you know, I'm even forgetting what party he was a member of when he ran, and then he did the Bradbury and got over the line in the Senate.
The car enthusiast party.
Yeah, that's it. Motoring enthusiast, and now he's the shooters and fishers, I think, but him getting in, I actually quite enjoyed his time in Parliament because you know, before he got in, there were, you know, myself included, and I've got a bit of bogan in me myself, so I probably shouldn't have said anything in the first place. But, you know, there were the videos that were going on about him riding around in his ute, throwing roo-poo, doing all this sort of yobbo stuff. So there was a bit of judgment that I saw prior to him actually taking his seat. The one thing that happened that I found really interesting when he did take his seat was that all of a sudden he started talking real old school, you know, working class sort of values, perhaps even old school Labor in a way. Yeah. And this person that the polite political class never usually really wants in Parliament actually ended up being quite an effective speaker and advocate for a good section of working class people that did live out in the Latrobe Valley. There is something there. It can be drawn on more. I'd like to see it, and I do like seeing a good bogan in Parliament. I've got to be honest. I think that it actually helps.
Definitely. Like Jackie Lambie's one of the most popular politicians in the country.
Yeah.
And like whether you like her or not, that is just the fact. Yeah. Like there's been a bunch of surveys about it.
And God, I remember when I wrote something when all the Section 44 stuff was kicking off and she got booted out again and had to sort out her citizenship. We won't start me on Section 44 again. But,
welcome back from holiday.
But yeah, you know, I remember saying this is actually bad for Parliament, and I got bagged out on my then Facebook page for saying that. But what I meant was that he was a person from a working class background, had this certain set of experiences and values that sometimes actually were really representative of a massive proportion that weren't actually being reached.
Yeah. Yeah, whether they were reactionary perspectives or not. Yeah, they were representative. Yeah.
They weren't being reached. So, yeah, there are those opportunities, and there's some really hardcore, old school working class values that are held in those regions that can be inspired, I guess, you know, and drawn upon and used. Yeah. Well, not used. That sounds horrible, but you know what I mean. It's just like, get them on the floor.
something to it, I think, as well, where like even disregarding the fact that all the politicians in there are student politics brained, like forever babies.
No one in there now has a fucking real job ever.
Like,
has had a real job.
It's fucked. Like, and like even when they have, it's not real. Like Angus Taylor working for consultancy firms forever and becoming a partner at a firm after being a toff at fucking some British university and then coming to Parliament. Like, one thing that was really great about Ricky Muir, one thing that's been great about Jackie Lambie, is that we are getting people in there who are not conditioned by the policies and the formal aspect of Parliament. And every time we get someone who shouldn't be in there going in there, they all come out ashen-faced going, this is fucked. This whole situation is fucked. These people are lizard people. They are evil. This whole situation is really fucking dire. And our media class shuts him up and the politicians try to kick him out. But I remember when Ricky Muir was put in a hard position, he was forced to vote on one of two horrible things. I can't remember the exact details, but it was basically like, if you don't vote for this, we'll starve kids, but the thing you're voting for is for starving women and children from another country, whatever it was. And the Liberal Party fucked him. And he broke down in a bunch of interviews and just cried about how horrible he felt being put into that position with all these other lizard freaks in Parliament just talking about, well, that's politics if he's not tough enough to do it. So we need people in politics who don't want to be there, never envisioned themselves being there, don't feel like they have a right to be there, and don't know what it's like to be there. Because that has such a powerful effect on people. If you're young Labor and then you work at a union that's Labor aligned and you get into the Labor Party, you're an elected officer for a while, blah, 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 blah. You grow up, your career is spent enmeshed in the way things, quote unquote, have to be. And so you need outsiders in there to be like, this is fucking gross. This is not working for the majority of people. We need to change. One or two people at a time is good to sort of highlight that that's an issue. But what we really need is like a balance of power of bogans. And just enough people to be like, nah, we're not doing either of those fucking things. Send that bill back. Get rid of that bullshit. We're not doing it. Because that's fucked. That's evil. And I mean, survey after survey shows that our politicians in basically every Western country are further to the right of the general population. Which, like in this country, is actually pretty dire because I do think our population is pretty fucking conservative. But we just need more real people in there. We've got functionaries, we've got bureaucrats who will make sure the legislation is legal. We just need normal people to go, oh, I want to help. Can you make legislation that helps people? As opposed to the current crop of shit that we've got, which is how can I, how can I make sure I'm rich when I leave here and my rich friends are taken care of?
On your point about like, ordinary people accidentally getting elected and then leaving ashen face and stuff like that. Like as a socialist, that is something that wouldn't happen to you because you theoretically learn that is exactly, you do not belong there. They hate you. This is what will happen. And we saw it like in my election campaign, like the Prime Minister calling me personally a disgrace and blah, 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 and the media turning on you and whatever. Like we know and we have studied this. This is what's going to happen. And then there's this really good quote from, a Bolshevik in the Duma before the October Revolution. This, I think it was written after, but he's recounting his experience. It's like, they fucking hate us. Our job is to get in there and hurl the accusations of the working class directly at the face of our oppressors. And it's like, fuck fuck it up a bit. Like that's our job. Isn't to like, let's go in, do a little deal here, and then like try and negotiate. Like, let's not kill the children. Maybe let's only kill older women or whatever. Like, no, fuck that. Like, no, that's not our job. Our job is to fuck shit up and just like they're our enemies. We're not there to be nice with them. That's our job. And I think it's really good. If you want to be prepared for that kind of stuff, like anyone can do that job. It is not a hard job. No one should want to do that job because they're also fucked. But if you want to have a theoretical understanding of what it's like and what would happen, you should be a socialist and you should learn about it.
Can't believe I'm about to say that I'm somewhat excited for the next election.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff to do before then.
And I'm just going to book my flights now.
Yeah, get it out of the way. It's going to be so fucked.
Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Radical Online Leftist Pipeline podcast. That's this podcast. Tell someone about it. Spread the podcast by word of mouth, and then tell us that you did so by shooting us an email at alpdotgov@proton.me. Just let us know that you think we're smart and beautiful. If you have a question, we might read it out. But basically, tell us we're great. Thanks.
Nailed it.